This was our formal living room, and I was hesitant to place a sewing room by the front door because I didn't want guests to see my mess. But we decided it was more important to have a functional space I could enjoy every day over a room set up for occasional guests. We cleared out the room and had new flooring installed, and I chose a neutral color for the walls to help keep the space feeling peaceful. Most everything else was furniture we already had. Welcome to my craft and sewing room, and thanks for watching this video and allowing me to share this space with you. All right, so we'll start over here. This is where I have my sewing machines. They're on these commercial desks, which are really solid and sturdy. Eventually, I'd like to change them out to actual sewing tables, but for now, this works pretty well. So over here, we have a couple of dress forms, and you can see I have some skating dresses that I've been working on. And then this is my main sewing desk. I have my computer there so I can work on design files or binge some Netflix. I sew on a Janome Skyline S7. I truly love this machine for what I'm doing, which is garment sewing. It is fantastic. I have some task lighting here. I like a lot of light because I'm old and I have a hard time seeing. And then I made this really recently. This is a little thread bag, like thread bag, thread catcher. And it's got a pin cushion on top. It's weighted so that it sits on the edge of my desk really easily. And it's really nice for keeping those thread tails off the floor. Over here, I have a couple of sergers. One was gifted to me, and then the other one I purchased. And so it's really nice to have two. Not necessary, but a luxury so that I can keep them threaded differently. Great when I have a very large project going on. This is what I use for my press board, and you can see it is just a piece of plywood that my dad cut for me, and then I made a beach towel. I just made kind of like a pocket and slipped it in, and I use that to pull out when I want to press fabrics. I've got two bookcases on either side of this window here, and one of them holds all of my non-skating related fabric and sewing notions. So I've got ribbons and buttons and trims and lace, things like that. And then we have some quilting cottons. I've got my thread cones for the serger, these little boxes for organizing my spools of thread. I would like to put those on the wall eventually, but before I mounted anything on the wall, I wanted to sew in here for a while, make sure the layout was going to work really well. So that'll happen eventually. And then down on the bottom here, I have my paper collection for paper crafting. I've got some art papers, things like that. Okay, we'll flip over here to the other bookcase. And this holds stuff for skate dress sewing. You can see up here, I keep my elastics. I use a lot of elastics, so that's in that basket. These are closures like zippers, snaps, hooks, that sort of thing. I've got my iron sitting up there. And then these are leftovers from previous projects. This is spandex. Down here, I have some stretch mesh. This cubby, these are shoe cubbies. They work really well for containing fabrics that are hard to fold. Over here, I have my fabric sample books. Blue Moon, Spandex House, there's some Spandex World in there. And then down here, you can see these are some rolls of stretch lace. And the bottom shelf, when we talk about a little bit, this is my space for unfinished projects. And something that I've changed in how I work is I don't keep unfinished projects anymore. I either finish it, or if I get halfway through and I realize that I don't enjoy what I'm doing, I pass it on. I'm super excited about this. It's made from a tabletop that was being thrown out. And we refinished the top and took off the legs. My husband built some new tall legs just out of some scrap lumber. They're not very pretty, but they get the job done. And then over here, this was a cabinet that we purchased on Facebook Marketplace. You can see there's my dog. And this cabinet was $20. It was bright yellow. We sanded it down, repainted it. And then when we mounted this tabletop on, rather than putting it up nice and flush to the edge of this cabinet, we left this little space, which has been super nice for holding my pins. So it creates this little ledge, and I can reach down in, and whether I love these clips. I use these clips for really slippery fabrics, and then I have some pins specific for applique work. I've got ballpoint pins for stretch fabrics, and then my regular sharp pins. And then right underneath of here, this is where I keep my cutting rulers, and then I have some pattern weights. So I can pull those out when I want to use my pattern weights. And then in the bottom cabinet, that's where I keep my sewing patterns for skate dresses. And they're organized by size. They're a little larger, and so it's nice to have this big cabinet to file those away in. There's some space for some chairs here so that when I'm not sewing and cutting on the table, we can sit and we can craft. So this has been really fantastic. We picked the chairs up for $10 a piece on Facebook Marketplace. So this whole setup was $50. We already had the paint in the basement, and the rest of it was done out of scrap lumber and freebie stuff. So for a mere $50, you can have a great cutting table. It does not have to be expensive to set up a sewing room. Okay, on top of my table, I keep these are cutting tools. I've got like some tapes, some fabric marking pens. I've got tailor's chalk here. I like to keep a notepad close by because as I'm cutting or marking out patterns and I want to jot down some notes about that, I like to always have that close by. And then over here, I have my bucket of scissors and my rotary cutter, that sort of thing. I've got a large cutting mat that sits on my table, and then down here on the back side, you can see I have another cutting mat that's hanging. This is actually the project that I'm working on today. This was a cabinet that was in my dad's print shop, and so I feel really lucky to be able to have it hold supplies here in my sewing room. Okay, so you can see this has been great. I've been able to organize one side of this, keeps fine art supplies. So I'm going to open this up here. We've got paints, art markers, colored pencils, and then art reference books down on the bottom here. And our collection of paintbrushes and tools up top. And then on the right side of the cabinet is where we keep paper crafting supplies. So I love happy planners. I've got my basket of happy planners up here. And then in here, in this side, I have things like tape. This is baskets of glue. I've got some fun pens, paper cutters and punches, some clay things because that's fun to work with. I've got a sticker collection down on the bottom. And then we've got these great drawers for holding things like, I've got on this side are stamp pads and stamps. I've got some more stamps in here. There are paper punches. And I'm not going to open the last drawer because it's a junk drawer. That's my miscellaneous, and it's pretty unorganized. But it's for those things I don't know where to put. And that's about it. That is my craft and sewing space. I have really, really enjoyed working in here, and I appreciate you watching this video and letting me share this space with you. I hope that you can create a similar spot somewhere in your house where you can be very happy and creative and enjoy your hobby.